When I graduated pharmacy school, I had $70,000 in student loan debt. It was not exactly easy to pay off that debt, but I did it. So I want to share my story with you today. I'm hoping my story will help motivate you and hopefully will teach you a thing or two, or maybe give you some ideas as to how you can defeat your student loan debt. I know it's something thousands of people struggle with, and I can definitely relate. I hope my story will help you. I will go over everything I did right and everything I did wrong, so you can navigate the process a little easier, and hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that I did. Stay tuned and keep watching. Hey guys, welcome to RX for Fi. Thank you for joining me on my journey to financial independence and the story of my life as a young pharmacist. As promised, today I will be telling you my story about paying off $70,000 in student loan debt. So when I graduated from pharmacy school in 2014, I had $70,000 in student loans, but I will not fail to mention that my income was pretty favorable at the time. Upon graduation, I signed on as a pharmacist with a prominent retail pharmacy chain, and they offered me an annual salary of $114,000, if I recall correctly, on a paycheck basis, bi-weekly paycheck. That amounted to about $3,400. So I was taking home about $6,500 to $7,000 a month, somewhere between there. As for housing, I was very fortunate. I graduated in June, and I was living with my parents at the time. Before graduation, I was doing rotations in Cleveland. And then I continued to live with my parents up until October of 2014. And in October, I decided I wanted my own place. It was getting a little tense and I needed a little space. I got my own apartment in a very nice, very affluent neighborhood, not too far. This apartment cost $1,150 a month. And I signed a one-year lease from October 2014 through October 2015. The summer of 2015, my aunt had a child and she needed a larger place. She and her husband needed a larger place. So they were moving into a bigger space. And she had this condo, and she offered the condo to me. All that I would have to do would be to pay the $220 monthly maintenance fee and the annual property tax, which was just a little bit over $1,500 a year. I didn't renew my lease in my swanky apartment, and I downsized a little bit into a 600, 700 square foot, one bedroom condo that my aunt still owned. As far as my transportation, unlike a lot of people, I didn't have a car payment or a car lease that I had to pay each month. I bought my 2012 Honda Accord at an auction. It was used, had about 70,000 miles on it at the time, I think. It cost about $12,000. I had about $5,000 in the bank at the time that I put towards the car, and my parents helped out by contributing $7,000, which I repaid them. It was a no-interest loan. I couldn't get a car loan at the bank. I didn't have enough credit history. My parents were kind enough to supplement that, and I just pay them back couple of $100s each month, and I chipped away at the no-interest car loan. But that was kind of at my leisure, and there were no fees because I was paying my parents back. My other expenditures were going out to dinner with friends. I was a young person. I didn't sit in my apartment all day, so I wanted to go out with my friends, and I did that on occasion. Not too much, nothing too crazy. My other expenditures were groceries, utilities. I had to pay for electric, gas, and internet. At the time, I also recalled purchasing a new computer for $1,000, and I bought a couch at IKEA for about $900. For the most part, I'd say I was pretty frugal. I didn't spend crazy amounts of money on a daily basis. I didn't go crazy buying handbags and shoes or going out for mani-pedis every day. I kept it pretty conservative, even though I did go out with my friends on occasion to dinner. You may wonder how I actually went about paying off my student loans, and I did that using the debt avalanche method. I actually didn't really know what debt avalanche was at the time. I kind of did it intuitively. I didn't know the term. The first loan that I paid off was my Perkins loan, which had a 5% interest. And then my student loan processor was Nelnet, and their website is pretty nice. You can break your loans down into subgroups and organize them by interest rate. So again, I paid off the ones with the highest interest rate because I knew I wanted to pay as little interest as possible. I just wanted to get the principal paid off as soon as I could and not accrue any interest. So that is why I went with the debt avalanche and paid off the loans with the highest interest rate first. So as you can probably tell, I certainly had several factors working in my advantage. I had a pretty high income for someone my age. Also, I had very generous and very supportive family, my mom and dad, who contributed to my car, so I didn't have to get a loan for my car, and instead I could pay them back without any interest. And my aunt, who was kind enough to allow me to live in her apartment while she moved out, and all I had to do was address the maintenance fees and the property tax for her in exchange. So those helped me dramatically in my journey to paying off my student loans. However, I could have ignored those opportunities and not lived at home for those couple of months, and I could have bought a new car. I could have allowed myself that, but I didn't. I was pretty frugal for the most part. I didn't spend an insane amount on clothes and various things. I lived pretty minimally at the time. As for the things that I did wrong, I completely ignored my retirement plan. You have to start thinking about retirement as soon as you go into the workforce, and I did not. I knew I had access to a 401k, but I completely ignored them. I figured I'm going to pay off my student loans first and then I'll worry about retirement. But the truth is, the markets return about 7% on average, and my student loans were below 5% interest. So even if I was paying interest on my student loans, it would have made sense to consider contributing at least to my match amount. So I actually have no idea how much I contributed to my 401k those first 2 years. And I don't even think I met the match, and that's just free money that I passed by. It was an absolutely huge mistake. The other mistake I made was getting that fancy apartment in that kind of fancy neighborhood. Not necessary. I could have gotten a cheaper place. But again, I got out of there when the opportunity came up to move into my aunt's apartment. Despite all of the things I did right and all the things I did wrong, I paid off my loans in a little over 2 years. So my first payment was in November of 2014. They give you a 6 months grace period from graduation. So my very first payment to my Nelnet was on November 3rd of 2014, and the last payment was February 2nd of 2017. So it was just about 2.5 years. If you want to see in great detail exactly how much I contributed to my payments each month, I actually took a screenshot and I posted on my blog post, and I'll link that into the description. So if you're curious, I was definitely more conservative in paying off my loans in the beginning, and then as I was accumulating money, I realized, hey, I could be contributing a lot more to my student loans and getting them paid off faster. So that's exactly what I did. Guys, thanks so much for listening to my story. I hope it was helpful. I hope you got something out of it, and maybe it'll inspire you. Maybe it will give you some ideas as how to approach paying off your own student loan debt. I wish you the best of luck, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I certainly want to help as many people get out of their student loan debt. It's a lousy struggle, and I'm confident that we can all overcome it if we talk about it and if we work together. Have a great day.